So during the break, we were talking about, and if you watch at infotainmentwars.com or if you watch on Twitch, we chit chat and say all the bad words that Johnny says during the show
Out
on
loud.
air, out loud on the radio. We can say those during the break. So, but one of the things that I was discussing was the fact that the demographics of Russia are such that Putin really has no choice but to invade Ukraine and start pushing towards Moldova, Lithuania, Latvia. All of the stands got to come under his envelope again. And Kazakhstan, arguably could be one of the worst for them. It's enormous. It's oil and gas rich. The new leadership was put in there by the old Putin puppet and then was supposed to carry on that process and then went to start locking up that guy's family members.
Yeah.
Not exactly what you do when you're going to side with Russia against China in the oil and gas tug of war. If you're going to start being China's major supplier, because that's where most of the functioning oil fields and gas fields come from, especially right now, because currently oil and gas from Russia is sanctioned all over the world, but it's not from Kazakhstan. Right. The companies are, but then, they're finding ways around that currently. Well, this is even more reason for that to continue. Even more reason for Kazakhstan to become a bigger breakaway. And it has near the same economy size-wise. Obviously, it's a kleptocratic gangster monopoly, just like kleptocracy, just like Russia is. But it's nearly as big if you take out the financial sector, which is exactly what just happened in the sanctions worldwide. One of the most fascinating stories of this, Johnny Million, I don't know if you heard about this, the teachers union in Florida has over $300 million invested in Russia that it can't get out. Let's see, 300. Yeah, let me look this up.
Why was it over there to begin with?
Yeah. So Florida's pension fund is stuck holding $300 million in Russian investments.
Florida.
Yes. And again, folks, keep this in mind the next time somebody tells you it doesn't matter who's in charge. The Democrats and the Republicans are exactly alike. It's two legs in the same pair of pants. Nothing matters. It's all the Illuminati. We're all being run by lizards. They all drink human milkshakes. Adrenochrome. The next time they say this, go. I don't think the Democrats have been running the government of Florida this entire time during the period by which they thought, ooh, Russia, what a great place to make money. So, Democrats have been calling for divestment from Russia in these, and the teachers union, which has a lot of Democratic leaning folks in it, I would say, in most states. I don't know if it's true that way in Florida, but they were like, yeah, that's a great idea. And then they went, yeah, about that? Russia's not allowing anybody to sell their stakes in anything.
Sure.
Much less in rubles or dollars. Also, Russia is about to default on their bond payments in the next week, which is something that's been, we've been talking about happening in China for the last year and a half after the Evergrande real estate collapse and all the ensuing smaller companies, and by smaller, most of them dwarf some of the largest companies in the United States. But they're like dominoes, they're falling through the sector. The real estate investments and real estate loans dropped by 31% from the previous month, which was already falling off a cliff.
Yeah, just from all the talk.
Yeah. There's a similar thing going on with Russia's bond market right now because they have no way to make money and they have to pay their bonds. Now, Ukraine is paying their bonds. Yeah. Ukraine has made all of their bond payments during this. All the loans that they've taken out over the years from governments, the World Bank, the hedge funds, anybody they've borrowed money for infrastructure, they're making those payments. Now, one of the reasons they are making those payments is they basically don't have a defense budget right now because we're giving it to them.
Mm-hmm.
If America could take a break from our defense budget for 3 years, oh boy, the things we could pay off. By the way, we're not going to. Just get used to the idea, because the minute we stop spending all this money on weapon systems and the like is the day Iran, Kim Jong-un, Vladimir Putin, and China form a pact to end democracy once and for all. Sorry, that's how it's going to work out. There is no utopia where if America would just stop meddling, everything could go back to normal. We would just get along like deer in the forest, right? So, DeSantis is, facing increasing pressure to, get this $300 million in investments that are linked to Russia out, and not really moving on it, and I can't imagine why. Florida's Democratic congressional delegation last week urged DeSantis to immediately divest the Florida retirement system from Russian-owned or headquartered businesses. The call came in a letter asking DeSantis, in his capacity as head of the state's Board of Administration, to immediately divest the $300 million worth of investments in Russian-linked companies. Now, again, you can't. Sorry. You could sever that money. You could ask the federal government, because of this extraordinary nature, to give a grant to the pension systems of $300 million so that we can just cut loose those funds and just start from scratch. Because Putin's never, obviously they could file a lawsuit, go, if we ever get them back, we'll pay it back to the federal government. Just call it a day. Mm-hmm. But you could have done this in the second week of February. Heck, you could have even done it in the first week of the war. But DeSantis and all these Republicans were pushing the idea that, Putin's not going to do this, and if he does, he probably should do it, and it'll be over quickly, and Ukraine has no shot, and this is just prolonging the inevitable. Ukraine should just, in the parlance of a Republican anti-abortion activist congressperson, Russia should just lay back and let it happen, because it's what God wants. By the way, Philip Ittner is going to be joining us in a couple of seconds. I want to take a break early, and then I'll bring him in on this if we could, so we'll have a little more room in the next break, if that's cool, Chicago. Okay. We'll go to break right now, and then I'm going to bring Philip Ittner. He's live in Lviv. I believe he's still there. He might be moving around. There's a lot going on. I don't know if he's played chess. We will find out in a second. He'll be joining us. He's in the green room coming in a second. Yeah, so we'll take a break. We'll be back right after this. It's the House Parks Radio program, Mega Worldwide.